That is definitely one that comes up and is definitely a stereotype for a reason. Hey guys, it's Amanda. So today we're looking at common stereotypes. It doesn't matter where in the world you live, foreigners will always have an image of you and what you're like, even if they've never met you. And it may or may not apply to you, as usual, just generalizations, or in some cases, they're not even true at all. For instance, some stereotypes about Americans are that we're humble, quiet. You wouldn't even hear us if we were in the room.
I make joke.
But today's video isn't about Americans. It's about British people and how they're perceived. So if you had to choose one stereotype, what would you say exists for Brits? Let me know in the comments.
Today we are back to stereotypes. Social psychologists tell us there's nothing wrong with stereotyping and sometimes what we think is true. They give the example of young men committing more violent crimes than other male age groups or women. It's just a fact. Statistics back this up. As we saw in other shows, not all Americans are overweight, carry guns, or are patriotic, but a good number of people in the States can tick some of those boxes, often all three. We also saw that while Russian men are not all macho, there is some truth to how Russian culture has propagated the image of the tough guy. But what about those Brits? Are they all tea-drinking, cricket-loving geezers with a stiff upper lip? That's what we'll find out in today's episode of the Infographic Show, Common Stereotypes About the British. Don't forget to subscribe and click the bell button so that you can be part of our notification squad. Let's start with the tea. Do Brits drink the stuff like water, imbibing their Tetleys and Yorkshire tea throughout each and every day? Well, according to the UK Tea and Infusions Association, yes, that really exists, 165 million cups of tea are served daily in the UK, which is 60.2 billion cups per year. The population of the UK is about 65.6 million, so those Brits are consuming almost 3 cups a day each. According to an article in The Atlantic, the biggest tea drinkers in the world are the Brits, with China, Turkey, and Ireland also big on tea. Unlike some other countries though, the Brits stick mainly with what is sometimes called English tea. 96% of the time it comes from a bag, and 98% of the time it's drank with milk. According to Statistica,
Who are you crazy 2% that drink it without milk? You rebels.
37% of Brits drink 2 or 3 cups a day, 21% said 4 or 5 cups, 7% said 6 to 8 cups, and a few folks 9 or 10 cups. There's no doubt about it, those Brits are hooked on their
10
cuppas.
cups.
Okay, so now let's get down to perhaps a more unappealing stereotype. After all, we've picked on Americans enough. We noticed that when we last mentioned the Brits had bad teeth, a lot of people expressed in the comments that this was not true at all. Was The Simpsons wrong to laugh at British teeth when they created the Big Book of British Smiles as a warning to cartoon American children? Was the Seattle grunge band Mudhoney wrong to name an EP Boiled Beef and Rotting Teeth, jokingly prodding the Brits? According to dental statistics, yes they were. According to 2015 OECD data, in terms of decayed, missing, or filled teeth, the Brits, along with Germany, actually have the best teeth in the world. According to DMFT, Decayed, Missing, Filled Index, the worst oral hygiene in the world is in Ecuador, Cambodia, and worst of all, Grenada. The same data says the Brits have the 4th best teeth in the world, while the Americans come 9th. So take that, Simpsons. Denmark came first on the list. The BBC writes that the myth of bad British teeth is mostly American-made. It may have held some truth in the 70s, says the BCC, but it's all changed now. The Brits can now stand tall and smile wide and proudly cite any number of statistics that say their teeth are in a better state on average than those Yanks over there in TV Smile Land. So when they are not drinking tea or brushing their teeth, those Brits are
No, that's actually funny because one of the biggest stereotypes about Americans is our pearly white teeth. And Brits, you guys have better teeth than we do. Duh. I definitely did not know that. Although I don't actually really get where the bad teeth things come from. It's not like there's Brits walking around looking like Cletus missing their front teeth.
Now I like Britney Spears.
Like, I generally don't know what that is all about. But yeah, there you go. So Americans have pearly white teeth. The Brits are up on us.
obviously talking about the weather, especially those in rainy Manchester. Do they really go on and on about the weather? According to most websites we can find, yes they do. The reason is the unpredictability of the British weather due to its maritime climate. The Brits can't be sure what's going to happen from one hour to the next, so they chat about what's happening and what might happen. In fact, it borders on insanity how much they talk about the weather. In 2015, the BBC cited research that said all over the UK, 94% of people will have talked about the weather in the last 6 hours. That's every day of the week, all year, almost the entire country is weather small talking. When website Expat Insider took a poll on worst weather in the world by country, the UK was 58th out of 64 countries. Belgium came last. The weather is so bad in the UK that if they have a few days of sunshine and heat, it's first greeted with cheers, and later there are droughts and pink-skinned northerners passing out muttering the words, "It's crackin' the flags." Some Brits might understand what that means, and also know it's pronounced in the north, crackin' flags. Talking about how those Brits talk, do they really all
Cracking flags. I know I'm horrible with accents, but if you can't do it, you can't do it. No, but in all seriousness, when he's talking about insanity, yeah, that's a bit dramatic. I mean, I do myself though. I even talk about the weather in the videos with you guys. I talk about it every day. And I don't think the weather is actually that bad. Okay, yeah, it rains quite a bit. But the summers are amazing. Like, there's nothing better than a British summertime. I absolutely love it.
I like it a lot.
It's nearly here, guys. It's nearly here.
have accents no one outside of Britain can understand? This is true and not true. Some Brits speak very clearly, and you could say these are all mostly your middle and upper class variety of Brits. Yes, they still talk about class over there in that funny old land. According to the Telegraph, Britain indeed is a country of very complex accents. They mention the accents of Cockney in London, Brummie in Birmingham, West Country in Somerset and beyond, South Wales, Scouse in Liverpool, Scottish and Geordie, Newcastle, among others. Imagine traveling through Yorkshire and someone tells you, "Put wood in tow, was that born in a barn?" That means, please close the door. You go up to Scotland and someone turns to you and says, "It's boiling out." He's trying to tell you today the weather is hot. All over the UK, you'll find accents that you can't believe are the English language.
Aggressive.
Not everyone speaks with a BBC accent or Queen's English. Why does the UK have so many regional accents compared to the rest of the world? It's complicated, but has a lot to do with social standing, communities that identify with accents, and of course, all the tribes that lived on the British Isles, including Celts, Angles, Saxon, Jutes, German, and Norse tribes. Medieval French became the language after Old English, and Latin was spoken as well. All those tribes and all those languages have led to this confusion of British accents. As for the Queen, do all Brits love her? Actually, that's hardly even close to the truth. She's probably more popular in the US than she is in the UK. In Scotland, the Queen is less liked than in England. While polls suggest that about 75% of Brits are in favor of keeping the monarchy, the days are long gone when the UK population worshipped the royal family. The Queen is more of a novelty these days, fodder for those infamous tabloids. Are the Brits overly polite? Well, there is certainly a culture of yobism over there on the small island, but you will find that Brits agree that they know better than anyone how to form an orderly queue. In fact, most people there are so polite they apologize even when they are in the right. When The Independent cited a British Council report about what the rest of the world thinks about the Brits, the answer was boozy, ignorant, intolerant, but very polite. You'll find Brits do binge drink, but the country is only 25th on the world alcohol consumption list. Are they intolerant? Well, Brexit might answer that, but we won't go there today. Polite is probably true, as good manners are important in the UK, and that goes across all classes. We can trace some of this back to the Victorian era in Britain, when etiquette and manners were expected from everyone. Finally, is British food really that bad?
They're incredibly polite. But what is wrong with that? What is wrong with being kind? I mean, I suppose it could be tricky to navigate if you're over here visiting, because you can't always take words at face value. Like, for instance, if someone comes up to you and they're like, "All right," they aren't actually asking if you're okay. They're just saying hello. Like, so don't go give me your life story. Just be like, "Meh, all right." Because they don't want to hear anything else. Or you should pop around sometime. It's almost never an actual invitation. They're just being polite. But Brits just want an easy life. Maybe that's where the kind of stiff upper lip stereotype comes from. They just don't want the confrontation or the hassle. But who does? Who wants to be confrontational? Not me. So everyone's just kind and smiles. Yeah, Job is good in.
Isn't easy to answer. You can find restaurants from two of the world's most
Yes, it
famous
is.
chefs in the UK, those of Jamie Oliver and Gordon Ramsay. Amazing cuisine can be found in every city, but you'll also find many poorer people living on a diet of Tesco value foods, cheap sweet ciders that come in massive plastic bottles, and basically eating a lot of bad processed food that comes out of boxes and tins. Yes, Britain is home to the greasy
Unlike America. Or the United States of America. I don't get it. The food's good.
cafe and fried egg sandwiches, but you'll also find some of the best Indian food in the world, as well as great French and Italian food. Traditional British food, such as roast beef and Yorkshire pudding, is not bad at all. Still, if we put British cuisine against other countries' cuisines, it might be said to be lacking. We checked a number of websites for best cuisines in the world, and British food wasn't on any of them. So, cheerio for now.
One of the things he just said was roast beef and Yorkshire puddings. They're not that bad. Or not bad at all. Has he ever actually had them? They're delicious. You can get massive Yorkshire puddings with sausages in them, cooked inside, with gravy. Toad in the hole, I think. Yes. So yummy. Or you can have jam inside them as like an after-dinner treat in the Yorkshire puddings. I don't think he's ever tasted the deliciousness that is a Sunday dinner. Otherwise, he wouldn't have uttered those fighting words. No, honestly, though, I don't get the crap food thing. I think I had comments, because this came up briefly in another video that we watched, and I think a lot of you said it was like from a long time ago, like years ago, but it's obviously just stuck. And that definitely has not been my experience over the last 10 years, except for maybe the jelly deals. They were pretty bad. But overall, there wasn't anything really shocking on that list. Like, I have heard pretty much those things in the past. And I'm surprised having a drink wasn't on the list. I know he mentioned that binge drinking, but that is definitely one that comes up and is definitely a stereotype for a reason. Like, Brits love a drink, and they can handle it. They can handle their own. Like, if you're ever over here visiting, don't try to keep up. At least coming from the United States. I don't know about other countries, because I could not. But honestly, who doesn't love a nice pub lunch in the sun? Yes, please. Is there anything that you would add to the list, or anything you disagree with? Let me know. And as always, if you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel, smash that like button if that's what you're into, and I'll see you in the next video. Aphrodite, then discuss, her messy colors.